the heddles on the rigid Heddle loom act like the shafts on a shaft loom, in that the eyes on the Heddle act just like the eyes on a shaft loom, and the warp threads lift the eyes lift the warp threads just like they do on a shaft loom. So Heddle 1 acts just like shaft 1. Heddle 2 acts just like shaft 2. Heddle 3 acts just like shaft 3. Now shaft 4 is actually found when you lower all of the other 3 Heddles. You will see that the shaft 4 is actually hiding in the slots, because when you lower the other 3 Heddles, you actually lower the eyes. You lower the eyes, and that allows the threads that are in the slots only to slide upward. Shaft 4 is hiding in slots only. So, and I will show that as I thread. Okay. So there are a couple of rules when threading on the rigid Heddle loom. Rule number 1 is that the warp threads need to pass from the back to the front in as straight a line as possible without crossing over the other warp threads, so no crisscrossing. Rule number 2 is that you don't want to crowd your slots, okay? You can put up to 2 warp threads in each slot, and I explain this a little bit more in the written blog. Okay, so now to show you how I actually do all of this, I am warping a straight, what's called a straight twill, which means that it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, means I'm going to warp through the first Heddle. I want my first warp thread to go to Heddle 1, second to Heddle 2, third to Heddle 3, and the fourth one's going to be shaft 4, which is going to go through just the slots. So, in order to get to Heddle 1, I need to pass through the slots only on Heddle 3. Now, I do have in the blog, I do show a threading diagram, and so I know where I'm starting at here is I'm going to be starting in this slot based upon my threading diagram. I know that I'm starting, and I'm going to go in as straight a line as possible, and I'm going to go to the corresponding slot into my second Heddle here, and now I want to go into my first hole on my Heddle 1 here. I do this a little bit faster when I'm doing this by myself. This does not take quite as long when I'm doing this by myself. I slide through Heddle 1 into Heddle 2, and I do this a little bit faster when I'm doing this by myself. Now for Heddle 2, I'm going to go through the same slot that I just went through on Heddle 3 to be able to get to Heddle 2. And I'm going to go into the hole to the right of that slot on Heddle 2. Remember, no crisscrossing. I can't really crisscross here, so I've got to go to the right instead of to the left here. Now I've got to, like I said, I do this a little bit differently when I'm doing this by myself. Now I need to go to the slot that is to the right. I'm staying to the right here. Slot to the right. No crisscrossing. Okay. Because I need to be able to come up to, I'll need to be able to come up to my front beam here. Okay. the next thread is going to go into the third heddle, the hole of the third heddle. Again, I can only keep 2 threads to the slots. I'm going into the hole of the third heddle. Okay, again, no crisscrossing threads, so I'm going to the right, the slot to the right of that on Heddle 2. I do not know how much you can see here. There we go, to the slot to the right. There you go, you got to see where I was at. Okay, now I want to go in as straight a line as possible. I'm going to go into the next slot, and I'm going to go into to get to the front. Remember, I have to be able to tie on, so I have to bring this all the way forward. There we go. Now the next thread in my group here is my hidden special 4th shaft that is going to go in all slots. So this was number 3. I'm going to go into the next slot, and this is going to go all slots, all the way forward in all slots. It's going to go in the same slot that number 3 went in just a second ago on Heddle 2. And it's going to go in the same slot on Heddle 1 also. As I said, I would do this a little bit differently if I was by myself. I would have just stuck my threading hook all the way through Heddles 1 and 2 and done all of that together. Now this is very important to me. I now have my 4 that I've just done. I normally take a look up, make sure everything's nice and straight and everything's where it belongs, and then I tie a knot after every 4 threads. I tie this knot because number 1, it helps me keep my place. And number 2, I tie it because just in case, heaven forbid, while I'm working or something, I accidentally bump this heddle and it falls. If I tie that knot, it keeps everything from falling apart and coming unthreaded. There we go. Now everything did not come unthreaded and everything stayed, and I'm good to go. So that is how I thread my loom. I'll continue that process all the way across. Thank you.